I am Nic Rohloff. This is Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. And coming up in just 1 second, we're going to go position by position and look at some of the surprise changes that could happen from the 2024 Dolphins roster to the 2025 roster and see what the starting lineup may be after the 2025 NFL offseason. Though I do want to make a note that it's not done. The Dolphins will be adding and changing a lot, especially that cornerback room, but we'll give our best look at what it is right now. I think it's also important to mention the coaching staff for the Miami Dolphins, at least in terms of the head honchos. Head coach remains Mike McDaniel. Actually, the OC and DC are the same from last year as well. Frank Smith, but McDaniel still calls plays. Anthony Weaver will get his second straight season of being defensive coordinator. Had a really good first year, so I'm excited for year two. But then Craig Aukerman is the new special teams coordinator, and that's the one that I want to focus on here early. It's the only change to the coaching staff in a massive way. You still have Darrell Bevell back. You added Bobby Slowick to the coaching staff. You already have his brother Ryan Slowick on the defensive end. But having Craig Aukerman in as a special teams coordinator is a positive thing for the Miami Dolphins. He spent time with Tennessee. He has a connection to the punter Miami signed in free agency, Ryan Stonehouse. But there is another positive reason in terms of why I think it was a good thing that Miami ultimately changed special teams coordinators to Craig Aukerman that we'll discuss here in just 1 second. But help us out and share today's video by clicking that share button, selecting Twitter/X icon, and clicking post to Twitter. We're trying to get 20 shares, trying to spread the word. And with this video being as important as it is, looking at the Dolphins starting lineup and potential changes from last year to this year, I think it's an important one for more people to see. So help us out, share today's video. This is how. If you tag me on Twitter, by the way, I'll give you a like and retweet. Nic_Rohloff is the handle. All right, the reason why it was important for me to change the special teams coordinator, get a new, bold, and maybe fresh idea man in the building is because the special teams, it's just been horrible since Mike McDaniel's gone head coach. And I don't want to blame Mike McDaniel because he doesn't really have a hand in special teams, right? Like, he works a lot with the offense and the play calling and is then more of a CEO outside of that, like more of just like overall defense, overall special teams. But when you had the worst, fourth worst, and then second worst special teams unit in the last 3 years consecutively, that's an issue. And that's the grade according to Pro Football Focus, of course. But that's just bad, man. And I don't want to blame Jason Sanders. When you talk about special teams grade, that's more of punt coverage, kick coverage, and the ability to flip field position and stuff like that. Like, the punting game for Miami, it just hasn't been good. And I'm happy that the Dolphins signed Ryan Stonehouse in the offseason, who, like I mentioned, was with Craig Aukerman in Tennessee during the 2022 season when Stonehouse was a rookie and made second-team All-Pro and set the record for average net yardage of punt yardage. So that is very exciting for me. It's just a much-needed change, man. This group has been terrible. I've been wanting the Miami Dolphins to move off of Jake Bailey for a while. He is still on the Dolphins roster for reasons I do not know, because if Miami released him, they would save $1.9 million in cap space. Not that that's that big of a deal, but you have two punters on the roster right now. You're not keeping two of them for the 53-man, so why not release Bailey, save the $1.9 million in cap space, add that to your total, where you could have potentially now $26 million in cap space to sign a couple free agents after June 1st when you trade Jalen Ramsey as well. Like, to me, it just makes too much sense to release Jake Bailey, but I'm glad there is change to the special teams unit. All right, but let's now roll through the Dolphins roster here. Lineup changes, because there is a big change behind starting running back Devon Achane. Like, your starter is not changing. It's still going to be Achane, that RB1, but 2 through 4 is a completely different group now, because last year you had Raheem Mostert as RB2, Jeff Wilson as RB3, and rookie Jalen Wright as RB4. Well, now Jalen Wright jumps up from RB4 to RB2 in all likelihood. You add Alexander Mattison in free agency on a 1-year deal to help be your short yardage guy in the red zone and in 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 situations. But then you drafted Ollie Gore in the 6th round, the 6'2", 225 back, to be a bruiser and a developmental guy. And you have a whole new 2 through 4 backup for Achane. Now, if I had to predict who ultimately will be that RB2, I will make it Jalen Wright. I think he is in line for a year 2 breakout as well. only got 68 carries last season. I expect him to get triple digits this year, and I think he's going to have over 500 yards. I know it's tough, but if he does get triple digit carries, I think he will average close to 5 yards per carry due to his nice blend of athleticism, agility, straight line speed, his vision. I think he'll get on the pass or on the field as well in pass protection because he's a good pass blocker. I think Jalen Wright's in for a really, really good role in 2025. I'm excited to see him as RB2. And remember, when Miami trades a future 4th-round pick or future 3rd-round pick to get a 4th-round pick in the 2024 draft to draft Wright, clearly they have a vision for him, and I'm excited to see it. Are you with me? Do you guys think Jalen Wright will break out in the 2025 NFL season? Type Y for yes, type N for no. I think they will. All right, let's move over to the wide receiver room now. These are the likely 3 starters that Miami has. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle are likely going to be your 1-2 combination again, unless they trade Tyreek Hill, but I do not forecast that, even though I wish they did that. And then I think Nick Westbrook-Ikhine is going to be your wide receiver 3. Gave him a 2-year, $6 million contract in free agency, brought him over from Tennessee. He's exactly what you needed out of this room. He's a physical, big wide receiver who's got a big catch radius. He can make plays down the field. He's a really good run blocker as well, which is something Miami desperately needs in their scheme because how often they run to the perimeter and the outside. Westbrook-Ikhine was a big play guy last season, nearly 500 yards, 9 touchdowns, had one of the best touchdown percentages in the NFL last season. He was in red zone threat, had a good contested catch rate. I know a lot of people might mention Malik Washington being wide receiver 3 for the Fins. I think he will get a lot of run and tick in the slot in those type of schemes, but when the Dolphins are running 3 wide receiver sets, I think more often you will see Nick Westbrook-Ikhine almost as that X wide receiver, and then they'll bounce around Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill from off the field, on the field, in the slot, as that Z wide receiver. Like, I'll be just fascinated to see how it goes, but if I had to predict what 3 wide receivers are on the field the most, it's going to be NWI alongside Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. Now, at tight end, the other pass-catching unit on this roster, you really didn't see that much change. Yeah, you got rid of Durham Smythe. You brought in Pharaoh Brown. But at least on paper, it's probably going to be Jonnu Smith and Julian Hill as your 1-2 combination. If they moved off of Julian Hill, I would not be upset. But in all likelihood, those will be your top 2 tight ends. Hill, that projected run-blocking tight end. Jonnu Smith, the do-it-all guy who set single-season records in receptions and receiving yards last year for the tight end's position. Excited to see him in his 2nd season in a Dolphins uniform. But the biggest shakeup on this Dolphins roster, at least when you think about the offense, is clearly what happened on the offensive line, something that I pined for, Dolphins fans were begging for, and the front office and coaching staff agreed to a degree by switching up things in a drastic way. Now, you would have probably preferred Terron Armstead to still be here, but I'm not upset at him leaving because I want to see what you have in Patrick Paul, the 2nd-round pick out of Houston in 2024. He is going to be your starting left tackle, but you have Robert Jones and Liam Eichenberg, your starting left guard and right guard combination, no longer here. You bring in James Daniels on a 3-year, $24 million deal. Savi Naya, you trade up in the 2nd round to get him. He's likely going to be a starter. But when you look at the O-line changes from last season to this year, out Armstead, Jones, Eichenberg, in Paul, Daniels, and Savi Naya. We don't know where Daniels and Savi Naya are going to play exactly, but we know Paul is going to be your left tackle. You just can't convince me that this offensive line didn't get upgraded. Like, Aaron Brewer was great in year 1. I think he's going to be great in year 2. Austin Jackson only played half the season in 2024 before he hurt his shoulder. He'll be back at right tackle this year, so that's going to be a better position than what the back half of last year was with Kendall Lamb being there. Like, you upgraded left guard with Daniels or Savi Naya over Jones. You upgraded at right guard with either Savi Naya or Daniels over Liam Eichenberg. Yeah, you downgraded from Armstead to Paul, but that is no guarantee. And there's no guarantee that Paul will be rough. Maybe he's elite, and you have a franchise left tackle that you draft in the 2nd round. Like, I think this O-line is 1,000% better from 24 to 25, which is why I'm more excited to see this offense probably be more well-balanced in the run game, play-action game, and passing game, and hopefully keep Tua Tagovailoa upright and healthy this upcoming year. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel for daily Dolphins content. By the way, for 100% free. You look at some other places out there like The Ringer, like ESPN Plus. You got to pay for content. Not here at the channel, bringing you daily videos. So hit that sub button to get updated on everything Miami Dolphins. Let's transition over to the defense now, because if you compare the defense compared to the offense, the changes from 24 to 25 are pretty much all on the defensive side of the field. And we'll start with the defensive line, because last year you had a lot of guys on one-year contracts, right? Benito Jones was on the one-year contract. He returns. But you had Calais Campbell. You had Deshaun Hand. You had Brandon Pillai. You had some other guys. But you replaced them with a lot of rookies, right? Kenneth Grant is that new defensive lineman alongside Sealer. You could say he's a one-tech. You could say he's a three-tech. He's versatile. He can do whatever he wants. But Jordan Phillips, nose tackle out of Maryland. Zeke Biggers, big defensive lineman from Georgia Tech, both drafted on day 3. Now, when you talk about this defensive line room, you have to talk about how the rookies are going to have to step up. Like, I'm excited to see the youthfulness, the explosiveness, the high character, high motor guys that Phillips, Biggers, and Grant ultimately are, but they're going to have to play large roles. And if they do not perform well this upcoming year, the defensive line room could be rough. It could. But I do think Grant will be solid as a day one contributor. I think Phillips will be a good rotational guy as well. So is it going to be better than last year's group? I don't know, because Hand was pretty solid, and so was Calais Campbell, obviously someone I wanted to re-sign. But I'm optimistic about the long-term view of this defensive line room. One of the biggest excitements Miami Dolphins fans have to discuss in the lineup is that edge trio, because you now have Chop Robinson, Jalen Phillips, and Bradley Chubb. Like, Jalen Phillips, I think, is going to be ready for week 1. Because he tore his ACL in week 4, and those are usually maybe 9 months recoveries now with this medicine, and that puts him on par for being ready for week 1 in September. Chop Robinson entering year 2. Bradley Chubb, after a full year off, recovering from that PCL, MCL, ACL injury at the end of 2023 year, will be ready to go this season, barring another injury. I know it's a big if, because these players have been hurt so often over the past couple of years when you talk about Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb. But if those two can stay healthy and Chop Robinson doesn't get hurt, you could have the best edge trio in the NFL. Like, it would not shock me if Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips, and Chop Robinson help form one of the best pass rush in football. Like, you think about this group that's going to get after quarterbacks, guys. Those 3 could be absolutely dominant if they stay healthy. Zach Sealer has been arguably a top 5 interior defensive lineman over the past 2 years and been the best Dolphins defensive player over the past 2 years. Kenneth Grant gets added into the mix. You have Mo Kamara, Quentin Bell coming in rotation. This could be a dominant pass rush for Miami, and that's necessary, getting after Josh Allen's, Lamar Jackson's, the Jane Daniels you have to play, some of these other young quarterbacks like Drake May, Michael Penix, Joe Burrow, you got to play this year as well. Like, it's going to be very fun to see this edge trio get after the quarterback this season. I'm very, very bullish on it, and I can't wait for that to come to the football field in the fall. When you talk about the linebacker room, those are probably the biggest position that stayed the same, especially on defense. It is. Like, your starters at the end of last season were Jordan Brooks and Tyrell Dodson. Those will be your 2 starters again. You did switch up your backups with KJ Britt, Willie Gay Jr. joining the fold, replacing Anthony Walker Jr., David Long Jr., Duke Riley. But your 2 starting linebackers, if you're able to stay healthy, will be Dodson and Brooks. And those 2 were the starters for the last 4 or 5 weeks of the year last season. The only group on this Dolphins roster in defense that stays relatively the same from the end of last year. I am very curious to see how the Dolphins fans feel about this. The Dolphins will have a top blank defense in 2025. Fill in the blank for me. Is it top 10, top 5, top 15, top 20, barely top 30 at 32? Let me know your thoughts on the defense. Drop a number down in the comment section. I do think it's going to be a top half defense despite the concerns of the secondary. And that's where we're going to go next here, right? Shaky CB room. When you talk about who could start, who's going to be an impact player, there's only one guaranteed guy I could talk about right now, and that's Kader Kohou in the nickel. Like, you absolutely have no idea who is going to be in that secondary starting week 1 for the Dolphins outside of Kader Kohou. It's a complete battle. You told me it's Storm Duck and Cam Smith. I would be, like, not surprised, but I would be concerned. You tell me it's one of those two with a free agent? Okay. Maybe they make a trade. Like if you talk about from now until the start of the season in September, without a question that the cornerback department is going to be the most changed roster and depth chart from now until then. It's just going to be absolutely wild to see who is starting week 1 in that secondary for Miami. And that could be said for the safety department as well. Complete unknown. Like, I don't know if Miami adds too much to the roster, but in terms of who starts week 1 in that game against Indianapolis on the road, who the hell knows? I think I would project it as it being the 2 free agent signings in Iafatu Melifonwu and Ashton Davis, but you drafted Dante Schrader Jr. in the 5th round. You re-signed Elijah Campbell. You have second-year safety McMorris, who is in the 6th round of 2024 out of Cal. Like, you could see Schrader Jr. McMorris be your starters. If they just outperform everyone in camp, wouldn't shock me. Could be Melifonwu and one of the rooks. Could be Davis and one of the rooks. Could be the 2 vets. I don't know. It's going to be very exciting, though. And when we talk about talking points for the remainder of the offseason, training camp, mandatory minicamp, preseason, the secondary is number 1, and it will always be number 1. Who ultimately becomes the 2 starting safeties? Who becomes the starting 3 corners? Because the Dolphins run nickel as their primary defensive package, and so does the rest of the league in this day and age. But still, who are going to be the 5 secondary members that are on the field? Because who knows, maybe if Melifonwu, Davis, or one of these other safeties are that good in coverage, maybe they move Kohu out to the boundary and move one of those safeties to the nickel. And would I project that and want that? Probably not, but you never know. If that's your best 5 secondary players, day 1, why not roll it out there? Conclusion on today's show. The defense is unbelievably different from last year. The offense is very similar, right? Like, you still have your top 2 wide receivers, same tight end, same top running back, same quarterback. 2 guys on that offensive line are coming back. So, yeah, that's the biggest difference, right guard, left guard, and left tackle. But the offense is more or less the same. The defense, complete overhaul, though. Only players returning from key contributors last year, Zach Sealer, Jordan Brooks, Chop Robinson. Maybe if you count Tyrell Dodson, but he only played for 4 games last year. So when you're talking about defensive key contributors returning, 1 linebacker, Jordan Brooks, defensive lineman, Zach Sealer, edge Chop Robinson, and Cater Cole. I'll give you 4. That's it. Not much. There's a new defense. See how they pick up Weaver's scheme and if they ultimately pay dividends for this front office and coaching staff. All right, I'll do it for today's show. Like I said off the top, make sure you do share today's video. It's greatly appreciated when you guys hit that share button. Spread the word of Dolphins Today. Creates a larger family here at the channel, which is just awesome to have when we get into the watch parties. More people watching, more people hanging out, better atmosphere. So help share today's video and spread the word of Dolphins Today.